One of the biggest debates in trucking is whether it's better to buy a new or a used truck. You'll hear some people say never buy new, let somebody else take on the depreciation. Others will tell you that you'll spend so much on repairs, you'll wish you had bought in a new truck. I wanted to know what was better, buying a new truck or buying a used truck, so I created a spreadsheet showing several different ownership strategies, and I'm going to share that spreadsheet with you. Let's go. Welcome back to Trucking the Seven Seas. My name is Tim, and in this episode, I'm going to do a new truck versus used truck analysis. So with all that out of the way, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put myself in the right side of the screen, and I'm going to go ahead and show the spreadsheet I made right now. Okay, so through the power of editing, I should now be on your right side of your screen, and then over here on the left side of the screen, you should see the spreadsheet I made. So we're going to go over the spreadsheet and how it works, but before I begin, I wanted to go over a couple of things. First off, this is not financial advice, and none of this is a guarantee. Second off, none of this is financial advice, and this is not a guarantee. And thirdly, none of this is financial advice, and this is not a guarantee. So with all that out of the way, some of the other notes here is there are a lot of estimates and assumptions made in this. As you're about to see, I had to kind of estimate / guess the annual mileage, your purchase price, down payments, interest rates, resale values, maintenance cost, downtime, and just stuff like that. So there's just, I don't know, probably about 10 assumptions and estimates in here that I had to just come up with. So take everything here with a grain of salt. This is my best guess at comparing new versus used trucks. So take from it what you will. All right, so let's go ahead and break stuff down here. So what I did was I created basically 4 different purchases of vehicles. So over here, you have purchasing a used truck for about $100,000 that has been used for about 3 years. So this one is basically, if you purchase a truck from a mega carrier, it'll have about 3 years of use on it and around 300,000 miles, and generally you'll get it for about $100,000, give or take. So I think a lot of guys end up doing that. I did something very similar, and this is pretty standard. Most guys, if they buy a used truck, one of the best ways to do it is just to go down to Knight Transportation or Swift Transportation or JB Hunt and purchase one of their vehicles that they've driven around for about 3 years. And that's what a lot of guys are doing. Now, the reason why that's common is because you can depreciate a vehicle for 3 years. So just what the mega carriers will do is they'll buy their vehicles brand new, and then they'll depreciate them over 3 years, and then they'll get rid of them. So that is very common, and that's why I'm using that for our used example here. And then, of course, you got the mega carrier model. So this is where you do what I just described, where you go buy a brand new Freightliner Cascadia, you drive it around for 3 years, and then after 3 years, you're done depreciating it, so you get rid of it and you buy a new truck. So that is the mega carrier model. I just put mega model right there, and that's what we're going to be analyzing in this column here. And then for the remaining 2 analysis, I did the same thing as the mega carrier model, but instead of driving it around for 3 years, you drive it around for 5 years and then 7 years. And that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing a used vehicle that you bought off of a mega carrier. It has about 300,000 miles on it and has been driven for about 3 years. And then we're going to do a brand new one using the mega carrier model, where you buy a brand new vehicle and get rid of it after 3 years. And then we're going to do a brand new vehicle for 5 years and a brand new vehicle for 7 years. Now, I could have done an infinite number of these. I could have added more used vehicles. I could have added more brand new vehicles for 6, 8, 10 years, whatever. I just kept it simple. I think most guys will end up buying a used vehicle somewhere around here. And also, I did something similar to this. So some of my numbers in here are based off of my experience purchasing a vehicle under these circumstances. So I was able to get a little bit better numbers that way. So that's why I did that for the used one. And there's just too many scenarios for a used, or specifically the used vehicles. I mean, obviously you could buy a used vehicle with 600,000 miles on it, 700,000 miles on it, 800,000 miles on it, 1.2 million miles on it. So there's just way too many examples, and there's way too many estimates for something like that. So for the used model, I just did the basic. You bought a used vehicle off of a mega carrier lot. And then for the brand new models, I just went 3, 5, and 7. I mean, I could have went 8, 9, 10 as well, but I just did those 3 examples, and that's what we're going to go over. All right, so going line by line here, I broke it down into pretty much two different sections here. Up here you have financing, and then down here you have maintenance. So for the financing, you got purchase price right here. So each of these vehicles has its own purchase price. So you bought a brand new vehicle, let's say a Freightliner Cascadia, is going to run you about $200,000. Okay, so between the taxes and everything and the fees and whatever, your purchase price for a brand new, let's say Freightliner Cascadia, is about $200,000, maybe a little bit less, but we're just going to use $200,000. Maybe you put an APU on it, right? There's some stuff you can do, but just to make the math pretty simple, I'm going to use $200,000 for our brand new vehicles, okay? And I think that's pretty close. And then, of course, for the used vehicle, as already mentioned, we're going with a used vehicle you get off a mega carrier's lot. It's got about 300,000, 400,000 maybe miles on it, and you bought it for $100,000. Now, if at any point you don't like these numbers and you think my estimates are off, what you can do, you can just hit File, Download, and you can download it to a Microsoft Excel sheet. And then after you download it to an Excel sheet, you are free to use it however you please. I will leave it in the About section down below. It is a Google Drive spreadsheet, so you can just open it, download it, and then do it however you want. You can't edit it directly, because if you edit it directly on Google Spreadsheets, it will edit it publicly, and then the entire thing just becomes useless. So you do have to download it. But there you go. Okay, and then moving on to down payment, I did a 20% down payment on all of these examples. So 20% of $100,000 equals $20,000. 20% of $200,000 equals $40,000, and that's the same all around. So I kept it simple. Maybe you go 10% down, maybe you go 30% down. I use 20%. Doesn't really matter too much, but that's what we're looking at. And then for the interest rate, I went 10%. Again, pretty arbitrary, kind of trying to keep the math a little bit simple here. You could probably get 8% or 9% right now, but I went with 10%. 10% is a nice round number. So that's what we're going with. If you want to change it, just open up the spreadsheet and do it yourself, but I went with 10%. And then for the monthly payment, I just went to this calculator site right here. It's right there. You can type it right in there. Typed in the terms, basically $80,000 at 10%, and then $160,000 at 10%. And this is the amount that it coughed up for a monthly payment. So that's where I got that from. I just used a simple auto loan calculator. And as far as the terms of the truck loan, I went with 36 months. Now that's pretty short. The reason why I did that is because in this model right here, the mega carrier model, you're getting rid of it after 3 years or 36 months. So I needed to use 36 months for this model right here. And in order to keep everything the same, I just used 36 months for every example here. I get it that some guys will do like a 60-month or whatever term on their loan. But because of the 3-year model, I went ahead and just made everything uniform and made it 36 months. Again, if you don't like that, just open up a spreadsheet and change it yourself. All right, and then if you look at the total cost of financing, which is right here, this is the total cost that each truck would cost you with the interest rates integrated in. So the used truck would be $112,000, and all of the new truck payments, including the interest rate, would be $225,000. So that's what that one is right there. And then, of course, each of these vehicles would have a resale value. And one of the assumptions is that you would say drive around this used vehicle for about 3 years and then get rid of it. And in the course of getting rid of it, you would obviously get a little bit money back for the sale of the vehicle. Same thing with a brand new model. After 3 years, you would sell it, get some money back. 5 years, sell it, get some money back. 7 years, sell it, get some money back. So that's what we're doing here. And in this case, I just assigned a rough estimate for what I thought you would get for each vehicle. For the used vehicle, I mean, you're talking the vehicle is going to have around 600 to 800,000 miles on it, because the mega carrier drove it for around 3 or 400,000 miles. And then if you drove it for about 3 years, that's again about 3 or 400,000 miles. And a vehicle with 700 to 800,000 miles on it, I mean, they might sell for $30,000, but then let's say you use Ritchie Brothers auction and they took 15%, you're going to be down to around 20. So I said 20. Again, a lot of estimates here. You don't like that number, go in and change it. So that's what I said for the 3-year vehicle. For the mega carrier model, where you drive the vehicle around and then sell it after 3 years, I said 80,000. And the reason why I said 80,000, whereas I just up here I'm counting it as 100,000 is because, again, the sale of the vehicle, you won't get everything back. Like if you were to sell it on the Ritchie Brothers auction, they take about 15%. So 15% minus 100,000 equals about 85,000. I just use 80,000. Again, it's just an estimate for the resale of the vehicle, including any fees that you might have to endure when you sell the vehicle. So I said 80,000. And then if you drove that vehicle around for 5 years, okay, after 5 years, that vehicle has about 600,000 miles on it, somewhere in that neighborhood. Yeah, maybe you sell it for about 45,000. After the fees, it goes down to about 35, 40,000. I use 35,000 here as the resale price. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of opinions on that, but that's what I used here. And then for the brand new vehicle that you drove around for 7 years, the used vehicle that you drove around for a little 6 years, and then this one is 7 years. I said about the same for the resale value. Okay, yeah, I get it. The math might not be 100% perfect there. Maybe you sell this one for a little bit less. I said 20,000 for both of these. That should be pretty close. Yeah, maybe it's closer to 19 or 18 or whatever. I use 20,000 for both of these because they should be fairly close. Okay, so then with all that said and done, right here, you'll see the truck replacement cost per year. So this is the raw truck replacement costs that I came up with without including any sort of maintenance advantages you would have buying a new vehicle versus, say, buying a used vehicle. So the truck replacement cost for each of these models, the used vehicle, just the raw truck replacement cost would be $37,000. The raw truck replacement cost on a brand new vehicle that you drove around for 3 years and then got rid of was 75,000. And then a brand new vehicle for 5 years is 45,000. And a brand new vehicle that you drove around for 7 years was 32,000. Now, just looking at the raw replacement cost does not do this analysis any justice, because this brand new vehicle right here is going to have very few maintenance issues. And furthermore, the maintenance issues it does have are going to be covered under warranty. So even though it says 75,000 and it's basically twice as much as this one, this is just not accurate, okay? So what we need to do is we need to go over the maintenance costs that you would endure for each of these vehicles. Now, for the maintenance costs estimates, if you didn't like all of the assumptions I made in the financing costs, then you are going to love the maintenance cost estimates, because all of these are estimates. Yeah, so literally every single one of these blue columns here, rows here, whatever, is an estimate. So this is literally 100% me estimating what it would cost. And if that's just unacceptable to you, then just turn the video off at this point, because that's what we're doing. Again, you don't like these estimates, you can go in there and change the numbers yourself, but I don't have raw data for tens of thousands of vehicles that were driven around for, a brand new vehicle that was driven around for 7 years, brand new vehicle for 3 years, or used vehicles. I just had to make estimates, okay? Maybe one of you has the raw data for each of these models, but I certainly don't. So all of these are estimates. Okay, so first off, maintenance cost per mile. So I use 15 cents on a used vehicle, and I got that because that's roughly what my vehicle is using right now. That's one of the reasons why I went with this model right here. My vehicle is roughly pitching about 15 cents per mile in maintenance issues. So that number is, I think, pretty accurate for most people. I think you're going to go somewhere between 15 and 20 cents per mile maintaining a used vehicle like that. So I went with 15 cents. And then for the brand new model, I went with 5 cents per mile. Now, the brand new model will be 100% covered under warranty, but there are still some things you're going to have to endure. For instance, you're going to have to do your PMs. Those are, $500, give or take, $400 or $500 for a PM that you got to get every, 30,000 miles or whatever. And then, if you blow a tire, maybe, you have a blowout on the road, you got to replace a steer tire, you got to have somebody, come out there and fix it for you. Okay, that costs you a little bit. So while everything is covered under warranty in terms of, the engine, the radiator, the water pump, and all that good stuff, you're still going to have to endure some cost per mile for maintenance. So I said 5 cents per mile on average over the course of 3 years. All right, and then moving on to the 5-year model. Again, pretty arbitrary. I said about 10 cents per mile. So over the course of 5 years, I thought this vehicle might cost you about 10 cents per mile. And where am I getting that from? Well, the first 3 years, everything again is going to be covered under warranty. And then the remaining 2 years, you can usually get another warranty for it if you wanted to extend it a little bit, but you're still going to have to endure pop tires and PMs and stuff like that. So I said 10 cents per mile. Maybe you disagree with that, maybe not, but that's what I went with here. Um, and that's what we're going with in this analysis. And then for the brand new vehicle that you drove around for 7 years, kind of similar story with the used vehicle. I assumed that you would have a warranty that would last 3 years, maybe 5 years. And then after that, the remaining 2 or 3 or 4 years after that, you'd just be coughing up money to replace whatever. Both of these vehicles, the brand new vehicle and the used vehicle, should be pretty close. This vehicle you theoretically run around for like an extra year versus this model right here. I went with 15 cents per mile, maybe a little low, but that's what I went with. So that's what we're going with. 15 cents per mile for the brand new vehicle that you drive around for 7 years on average. All right, and then for the mileage, I'm just assuming that you would run the vehicle for about 100,000 miles per year. So for 3 years, 3 times 100,000 equals 300,000. Same thing here, 3 years times 100,000 equals 300,000. 100,000 times 5, 500,000, 700,000, etc., etc. Pretty straightforward there. So that's the mileage you would drive it around for 7 years, 5 years, or 3 years in each of these examples. Okay, and then over here, you just see total maintenance costs. So all this is you take the mileage right there and you multiply it times whatever I'm assigning for the cost per mile, or whatever you assign for the cost per mile if you come in here and change these numbers. And then it will spit out whatever that number comes out to. So 45,000 for the used vehicle over the course of 3 years. So that's what you're going to end up dumping into the vehicle over the course of 3 years. And then 15,000 for the brand new vehicle over 3 years. 50,000 for the brand new vehicle over 5 years, and then 105,000 for the brand new vehicle over 7 years. Okay, so that gives us some rough estimates for what the maintenance cost should be over the course of each of these examples. And again, pretty big estimates here. You just got to make estimates when you do this. I can tell you so far, I think for me, this has been about accurate. I have a vehicle similar to this model right here, and I don't think that's too far off. So I think that one is pretty accurate. In terms of these other ones, I don't have the data for it, so we're just making estimates. So that's that. All right, and then moving straight down are the downtime days. So there's not just the cost per mile of maintaining the vehicle, right? Because each time, say, this used vehicle goes down for maintenance, you lose time, right? And I'll give you an example. Last year, when I was running the spot market, my truck, the water pump blew. Basically, it started leaking water everywhere. So I had just gotten loaded up, and after I got loaded up, I think it was like I think it was flour or something like that. I was in Indiana, and I got loaded up on a Thursday afternoon, and I was intending to drop the load on Friday morning, and then grab another load Friday morning, and continue on my way. However, that didn't happen because my water pump blew. So I took it down to a Love's, which was about 20 miles away. I just threw some water in there and just rushed it down there before because it was just leaking water, but I got away with it basically. Got it to the Love's. They looked at it, said, okay. They ordered the part. They ordered the new water pump. The water pump got there Friday. They finished installing it Friday afternoon, and then I was on my way. But the problem was the receiver for the flour I was delivering was not open on Saturday or Sunday. It was only like 300 miles away, so I could easily get there in a day. But the problem is I was unable to get there by the time they closed on Friday. So as a result, I lost Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, so the moral of the story is you have downtime when your vehicle goes down. And in this instance, that's a good example where I lost not just the Thursday and not just the actual maintenance cost per mile, which is represented right here. I also lost 3 days because I couldn't grab anything Friday, I couldn't grab anything Saturday, and I couldn't grab anything Sunday. So I lost 3 days. And during those 3 days, I was not making any money. In fact, I was losing money given my fixed costs. So what I've done here is I've assigned downtime days and downtime costs for every day your truck is down. All right, and then for the downtime days on the used vehicle, I said over the course of 3 years, you would on average be down 1 day per month. So every month, for whatever reason, your water pump goes, your radiator goes, your alternator goes, the repair time is going to be 1 day per month on average. And then for the brand new vehicle, I said you would be down 12 days over the course of 3 years. So basically 1 day every 3 months, you would be down. I figured, yes, it is a brand new vehicle, but sometimes, hey, maybe there's a recall, right? You got to recall it for whatever reason. Maybe your tire blows and you got to bring your tire in. That would be that would be something that might cost you a day, or maybe you just bring it in for a PM, and because you brought it in for a PM, you kind of lost a day or whatever. So I assumed about 12 days, over the course of 3 years in maintenance down days. And for the brand new vehicle over 5 years, I said about 40 days. And then for the brand new vehicle over 7 years, I said about 70 days. Now you might be looking at these and ask yourself, Tim, where are you getting those numbers from? And the answer is, it's just spitballing some numbers here, guys. You gotta come up with a number. I came up with a number. I don't have any data to firmly say that that is accurate. It's an estimate. And again, come in and change the numbers you want. But those are the numbers I gave. And if they seem arbitrary, that's because they kind of are. All right, so with those very accurate downtime days already implemented that are definitely not arbitrary in any way, just kidding. Now you have to put in a cost to those days. So the question is, on these downtime days, right here, how much do they cost you in profit? That's kind of the question here, right? So how much in profit do you make per day when you are on the road? And I mean, that depends on a lot of conditions, and depends on market conditions. It depends on what you're hauling. If you're oversized heavy haul, maybe those downtime days cost you a lot more than just a dry van hauler, right? I'm just looking at things, and I'm just looking at my numbers right now. And my best guess would be like right now, I'm thinking I'm probably profiting about $800 per day as a power only carrier, hauling Amazon. That's what I'm doing right now. So I just said, okay, about 800 bucks per day in my example. Again, come in here and just put whatever number you want. This one's a little bit more calculable, right? So if you have your own numbers and you're keeping track of how much profit you're making per day when you're on the road, you should be able to come up with a pretty steady number there. In my instance, it's about 800 bucks per day, I would estimate. So that is what I said. I said for every day that I am down, I am not only paying up the maintenance cost for like the water pump or whatever, I'm also just flat losing $800 in profit when I am down. So that is where that number came from. Okay, so then you get downtime cost per year. So this is just the average cost given these numbers per year that vehicle is going to cost you in downtime. All right. And then down here, you get the total downtime cost, which is just the total amount of downtime over the course of the 3 years or 5 years or 7 years that vehicle is going to theoretically cost you in downtime. And if you click on it, the math is pretty simple. You just click, it's just $800 times 36 downtime days over the course of 3 years. You get 28,800. And then over here, you just get 12 times 800, 9,600. I'm sure my audience is pretty intelligent. They can do this math. 800 times 40 days equals 32,000. 800 times 70 days equals $56,000 over the course of 7 years, 5 years, or 3 years. Okay, so then the final maintenance cost that I came up with for each of these vehicles, including not only the cost for the actual repair, but the cost in downtime that you were also going to incur. And what I did here is it just adds the downtime cost plus the total maintenance costs. And what you get is you get $73,000 for the used vehicle, $24,000 for the brand new vehicle that you drive around for 3 years, $82,000 for the brand new vehicle that you drive around for 5 years, and $161,000 for the brand new vehicle that you drive around for 7 years. So if you're a little confused as to why the 5 year is higher than the 3 year one right here, this is the cost over the course of 5 years, whereas this one's the cost for 3 years, and this one's the cost for 7 years. So this is just the raw numbers that you would incur in maintenance costs, but including downtime over the course of 3, 5, or 7 years. Okay, so with all that said, you may have noticed there's kind of there's a little hidden row here. All right, so now we got the total theoretical maintenance costs, and we have the total truck replacement costs for each of these models. So now with those two denominators in there, I think we can come up with a pretty, I won't say accurate, but an estimate for what the cost is of a used vehicle that you drive around for 3 years, and a brand new vehicle that you drive around for 3, 5, or 7 years. Are you ready? Drum roll, please. All right, so for the total truck cost, including maintenance, including days off, including financing and everything, over the course of 3 years, you'll pay about $166,000 for a used vehicle. If you do it for a brand new vehicle, you'll pay about $170,000 for a brand new vehicle that you drive around for 3 years. For a brand new vehicle that you drive around for 5 years, it's $272,000, and a brand new vehicle you drive around for 7 years is $366,000. And if you take each of these numbers and you divide it by 7 here, you get $52,000. If you divide it by 5 here, you get $54,000. And if you divide it by 3 here, 56, 3 here, 55. And one of the things that you'll notice here, which is extremely interesting, these numbers are almost all completely identical. Yeah, so right here, this is the truck replacement costs with maintenance days included. So this includes the downtime, this includes the theoretical maintenance time. And this right here is the number that really matters. This is what you will pay for theoretical, not just you, this is what you will pay for the financing costs, basically the payment. It's what you will pay theoretically with the maintenance costs included, and it's what you will pay theoretically with the downtime days included. So this is, in my opinion, the sort of all-encompassing truck replacement costs that you actually incur, including maintenance. And what is extremely fascinating is these numbers are basically identical, right? This is, I think the mathematical term here is within the margin of error. So these numbers are basically identical. Given all of the estimates I made here and, here and everything, yeah, these numbers are the same. Now, I didn't fudge anything to try to make these numbers come up this way. That's just how they ended up. Like I just did the math, and then when I did the math, they basically all ended up right about $55,000. I mean, I'm sure you can change the math however you want, and you're going to come up with maybe differing numbers. If you want to change this to say $600, let's see what happens when I do that. It's still about the same, right? Not well within the margin of error. Maybe you change it to 1200. Let's go 1200, right? See what that does. Still though, right? It's about the same, right? All of these numbers are popping up about the same. And you can fudge the numbers however you want, but I think in general, it's going to be about the same. When you factor in not just the financing cost, but also the theoretical maintenance cost and the theoretical down days cost, all of the numbers are pretty close, right? Now, again, none of this is a guarantee. These are all just estimates. If you want more accurate numbers, I mean, in reality, you'd have to get access to hundreds of trucks that were purchased, say, with 300,000 miles on them and then driven around for 3 years in this example. And then you'd have to analyze all of those trucks over the course of those 3 years. And then you'd have to do it for the mega carrier model. And then you have to do it for the brand new model for 5 years and then the 7-year model. I don't know anybody who's got access to that kind of information. I mean, there is probably some mega carriers out there that could provide some pretty good data on this model right here because they just sit there and hammer them out, one after the other. So you might be able to get some pretty good numbers here. I haven't seen any, but even so, even if you had these numbers right here, you're still not going to be able to find data for this kind of model or this kind of model or this kind of model. So again, these are estimates. I've said it a million times, but basically, no matter how I did this math, it all ended up about $55,000 in truck replacement costs, no matter what model you used. So for instance, let's change this to 50. So 50 down days per year still comes up about 60,000, right? And let's change this to 6. I don't know. It's still about 55,000. Let's go 20. I don't know. Just whatever. It's all about the same, right? So all in all, what I've concluded is that it doesn't really matter what you do. You could buy a used vehicle or you could buy a brand new vehicle and drive it around for 3, 5, or 7 years, and it's all going to be about the same. But my personal opinion, after looking at this, I think the mega carrier model kind of wins out here, right? I mean, if at the end of the day, it all pans out to about the same truck replacement cost when you include downtime and maintenance cost and financing, yeah, I'd rather drive a brand new vehicle around every 3 years, right? I'd much rather do that. So I think this one, the mega carriers might be onto something here. by doing this, right? It seemed to work out the best. Now, I did this and it's working out just fine, right? I have this kind of model right here and it's fine, right? But if I could drive around a brand new vehicle, I certainly would. And I suppose the only restrictions for those of you listening to this right now is, can you afford a brand new vehicle? And I get it. Like, we're all probably middle class men working out there. I mean, most guys don't have basically $250,000 to cough up for a new vehicle, and some guys can't get access to financing for a new vehicle. Totally understandable, right? But, if you have the option of buying a brand new vehicle, or you going used, or buying a brand new vehicle and using it for 5 years, I mean, this seems to be the model right here. The mega carrier model does seem to win out. Not because it's necessarily cheaper, but because why not drive a brand new vehicle around every 3 years? Yeah, all right, guys. So there's the analysis. You guys asked for it, and I did it. Stress this again. Ton of estimates in here. The margin of error on this is probably about $10,000 in this final number, maybe more. So take it all with a grain of salt. Again, it's not a guarantee, it's just an estimate. Come in here, download this file, and do whatever you want with it. Change the interest rate to 8%, change the financing to 6 years, change the maintenance cost per mile to whatever you want, change the downtime days cost to whatever you want, and figure it out. As I played with this thing, though, what I discovered is no matter how I did it, they were all pretty much the same, right? It's pretty close. So with all that said, I think if you want my opinion, the best way to operate a trucking company, and the best, and when you're comparing new versus used trucks, the best model is the mega carrier model. And in the future, if I go to buy another truck, I'm going to try to probably going to buy a brand new vehicle if I can afford it. All right, guys, that will pretty much do it for this video. I can't wait to read the comments and how all of my estimates were way off and inaccurate. And those comments are not wrong either. So I can't wait to read that. But please let me know what you think. And there is the used versus new truck analysis. And if you're interested in this type of content, please subscribe and hit the like button. And if you're interested in donating directly to me, there is a Buy Me a Coffee link in the About section down below. So I greatly appreciate it. And I also do consultations. If you're interested in that, just go to my website, truckingthe7cs.com, and you'll see a consultation page there, and fill out the information, and I'll get back with you. But that will pretty much do it for this episode, guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.